Today in the show, we're going to be talking about Kathy Kane, the original Batwoman. If you didn't know there have technically been 3 Kathy Kanes, then this show is for you. So before we talk about Kathy Kane and Batwoman in general, you have to understand why she was created. You see, she was created in 1956, first appearing in Detective Comics number 233. Back then, parents did not like Batman. He was seen as too violent, too dark, and gay. I'm meaning full-on gay. Everyone thought that Batman was in a relationship with Robin. That was never said in the comics, but for some reason everyone thought it was true. And obviously DC had to find a way around this accusation. As a result, they created the Bat family, originally consisting of Batman, Robin, Batwoman, Batgirl, and Batmite, eventually expanding into Ace the Bat-Hound as well. So Kathy Kane was originally a very, very rich heiress who was an amazing acrobat and a stunt cyclist on the side. Then one day she saw Batman on the news, became infatuated with him, and decided she was gonna chase after him to make him hers. So she became Batwoman. She actually ended up upstaging Batman and Robin in catching criminals, but Batman was able to figure out who she was very, very easily, went to her secret cave lair, and kind of said to her, "Look, I figured out who you were really easily. Criminals can do that as well. You should give this up before you get into trouble." And so she kind of gave up for a little bit. Until eventually, a criminal called Kurt Briggs would turn up, and she would chase after him, but then a whole mess of things would happen where Batman goes missing and Briggs gets amnesia, and Briggs thinks that he's Batman, so he pretends to be Batman for a few weeks until Bruce Wayne turns back up and becomes Batman again. It was a whole thing. It was really, really messy. It was like a classic Silver Age story where things were just messy and didn't really make sense, but they were campy and a lot of fun. And then one day she would go after a man called Elton Cragg, who had these pills that gave him Superman's powers. But Kathy, when fighting Elton Cragg, would accidentally swallow one of these pills, giving her Superman's powers for 24 hours. And she decides that she is going to figure out who Batman is, who Robin is, and who Superman is in this 24 hours. She doesn't succeed, but she proves herself to Batman, and he gives her his blessing to be a crime fighter. Because, you know, she needed his blessing to be a crime fighter, because back then she was just a woman, and women shouldn't be allowed to crime fight without the blessing of a man. Seriously, the morality back then was really messed up. Kathy would take part in a bunch of very, very camp Silver Age stories, would help introduce the original Batgirl, Betty Kane, and she was just a really fun character, but she was in the Silver Age, where continuity didn't really matter and stories were pretty much just a single issue every week. And as a result, she didn't do anything major. She was just a supporting character in Detective Comics. Eventually, Catman, a villain that Batwoman had helped stop in the past, came back from the dead because, you know, he's Catman, he's got 9 lives, so now he was on 8 lives. And Batwoman would actually have to become Catwoman for a little bit to stop Catman. And this was her last story for a long, long time. After this, she just disappeared. Then she would return for a few more stories just before being killed off by the League of Assassins. Then Crisis on Infinite Earths came about, and she was totally erased from continuity. She would only be restored into continuity when Infinite Crisis came about, but her past would be greatly altered. Next we have Kathy Kane of Earth 2, who we have to talk about even though she only had 2 appearances in all of DC's history. Now before we get into this, you need to take note of the fact that all the Earth 2 characters back in the day were actually the Golden Age versions of the characters, meaning this Kathy Kane was actually the Golden Age version of Batwoman, even though there was never a Golden Age Batwoman. So this Batwoman once again saw Batman on the news, fell head over heels with him, but this time the 2 of them actually ended up in a relationship, but only in their superhero identities. They never revealed their civilian identities to each other. And then when Kathy realized that Batman actually had fallen in love with someone in his civilian identity, and she knew this just by the way he was acting, the 2 of them just split off, and Kathy quit being Batwoman soon after. Eventually Bruce Wayne would die, but before he died he actually revealed his identity to the public, and later on it is revealed that the two of them did meet up around this time and sort of talk about their feelings to each other, which was really nice to hear. On Crisis on Infinite Earths, she was erased from history and was never restored, but at least she was erased on a high note. Now onto the most recent Kathy Kane. Now this is canon in New Earth and in Prime Earth, meaning this is all canon to the New 52 and DC's continuity since 2011. Now this Kathy was a film director, she was a poet, and a helpless romantic, which is why when a man called Nathan Kane bought her a circus, she fell in love with him and just had to marry him, changed her name from Kathy Webb to Kathy Webb Kane. Her lover would die when she was only 32 years of age, leaving her alone in the world, which is why when a company called Spiral would come up to her and ask her to figure out who Batman was, she accepted. She figured the best way to get Batman's attention was to make him come after her, which is why she became Batwoman. But what she didn't count on was falling in love with Batman. She would try breaking away from Spiral so she could be with Batman forever, but they turned the tables on her and she had to break away from Batman for good, never to see him again, until she had to turn back up one last time to kill Talia al Ghul. And after this, she promises Batman that he will never see her again. I do find this character very interesting. I find her whole creation very interesting, the reasoning behind her creation. It's a really good reflection of society back in the 50s. But that's exactly it. She's a character of her time. She's not a reflection to modern day society. And as a result, I don't think she has a place in the DC universe anymore. I think she'll just be good as one of those characters that just stop existing. We don't use them anymore. There are a lot of characters like that. That, or we use her in a different section of the DC universe and totally rework her purpose. But so long as she remains in Gotham and in like the Batman area of the DC universe, she will never break away from being a Batwoman, Batman's original girl, and it just doesn't work. Personally, I don't know where I would place her if I were to write her, just somewhere so far away from where she is at the moment. Maybe even on another planet, have her turn up just on another planet. How does a normal person with no powers function on this other planet that's so far away from everything she knows? It's super effective! Okay guys, that is it for today. So what do you think of Kathy Kane, or Kathy Webb Kane? Please let me know in the comments down below. And also don't forget to thumbs up and subscribe if you want to see more history videos. And also don't forget to like me on Facebook, follow me on Twitter, support the show by checking out my Patreon so I can make bigger and better and more history videos. And also don't forget to subscribe to my gaming channel, my vlogging channel, and follow me on Twitch. My name is Faust, this has been Exploring Comics, and it is super effective.